Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where today we're going to be doing The Mandalorian Season 1, Episode 2, The Child Review. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee. I have spoken. Welcome back to all of the returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding me for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video and any other video from the channel that you check out, and be sure to hit that notification bell not once, but twice so that you're always notified the second a new video goes live. Alright, with that being said, we're going to throw out a spoiler warning for Season 1, Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian entitled The Child. This video will contain spoilers from that episode, so if you haven't seen the episode 2 of The Mandalorian, go do it now and come back and watch this video. Alright, with that being said, let's get into it. So, first things first, when I sat down to watch it today, I looked and they showed the runtime right on the season of the show, and I saw even less time than the last episode, 33 minutes. And it's really shorter than that, because we had the 2 minutes essentially of credits, and then you had like the 1.5 minute intro, and I was like, okay, so we're really only getting like a general TV show sitcom length episode of The Mandalorian. And I remember thinking all of the things that we were reading up to the show, that it was supposed to be like hour-long length episodes. Even just 44 minutes is kind of what I was expecting, but to get 10 minutes less than that is disappointing, only because it's such a good show, and I hated the fact that it ended so abruptly. I felt like we were getting into it and then we were going to get to the next part. Like, I felt like this episode was the first half of an episode, but it was a great episode. And before we go any farther, let's just say that the Yoda species baby is like the cutest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Other than that, what a great episode. And one of the things that I really loved about this episode is the way it was filmed. So the way the cinematography was worked was, with all of the angles, is we were really seeing almost all of the episode from the viewpoint of the Yoda species baby. And that was really, really interesting to see, because this is supposed to be about the Mandalorian. We're usually seeing things through his lens, and now we're seeing it through the eyes of an observer, which was really cool. You noticed this a lot as they were walking, especially in the first half of the episode, before the baby Yoda used the Force. We saw that the whole thing was structured from his viewpoint, which I thought was really well done, and really just kind of, in an indirect way, forged the bond between the Mandalorian and the Yoda species characters. I felt like that really forged like more of a familial bond for the characters in the show, but also for us as the audience, kind of rooting for that relationship. So rather than recapping the entire episode like we did for the last episode, I'm really going to hit the highlights and kind of keep this more on the shorter end, so that because I'm assuming if you've watched this that you've already seen the episode. So let's just go over the highlights. So we have essentially the whole episode being the Mandalorian finding his ship, being ransacked by the Jawas, and him having to go with Nick Nolte's character to negotiate with the Jawas on how to get it back. And essentially the Mandalorian has to get an egg in exchange for the parts for his ship, and then the Nick Nolte character, I'm only saying Nick Nolte character because I haven't figured out how to pronounce his name yet, go back and fix the ship. Nick Nolte's character was invited to join the Mandalorian and be a crew member, but he had this really great line about fighting his life for freedom so that he can now enjoy it rather than being in servitude to someone, which I thought was great. And then we get the Mandalorian at the end really showing concern, and it's great. Pedro Pascal does a great job of showing the emotion of the Mandalorian while trying to not be able to use any facial expressions because of his armor, and you could still really feel that resonate and come through, and I really like that. And the cinematography of this whole show has been excellent so far. I thought the music was a lot better in this episode than the last episode. Nothing felt off to me, and I noticed that after I watched it, because I remember watching the first episode, and about halfway through, the music started to get a little too James Bondy, too modern for me to feel like it was Star Wars that I was watching. But I didn't have that with this episode. It was great. And The thing I really liked about this episode is when the Mandalorian had to get the egg. The way that fight was shot was awesome. But my one quibble with it is that after the Yoda child uses the Force to move the mud rhino up and kind of twirl it around for a little bit before passing out of his exhaustion, the fact that all he had to do was stab it once and then twist it to kill it was kind of a letdown. I expected more than that, considering how big it was. But I really like the fact about the Mandalorian protecting the Yoda species, not only because he had to, but I feel like it was because you could tell that he wanted to and wanted to keep that. And every time he was looking at Nick Nolte's character when he was talking about his bounty reward, he would kind of pause, and there would be this pause, and there would just be this moody music that would come in to really reinforce the relationship that's being forged between these two characters. Which is why I think it was such a short episode, because of the fact that Jon Favreau is really trying to get across the point that there's a clear relationship building between these two characters, and that's probably going to be the crux of this season. Alright, that is my review of the Season 1, Episode 2, The Child chapter of The Mandalorian. Let me know what you guys think about this episode. I personally liked it better than the first one, just because I really liked the Yoda species. It's amazing to see that on screen, and I hope we get a lot more of that. But thank you guys for watching. God bless, and may the Force be with you.